Good morning, everybody. Well, the title of my talk is "Letting Go of Your Need to Change Others." And has anybody ever had that experience before, where they've tried to change anybody? We've all done it. We've all done it. About 2 weeks ago, I got back from Bali. I was doing a meditation retreat there. Can't believe I was gifted with that, but a friend of mine had asked me to go to Bali to teach meditation, and I thought it was a trick question or something there. So I'm like, what? She paid for my whole trip. She paid me while I was there, and it was a trip of a lifetime. It was incredible. But it wasn't without a meditation retreat and a workshop going on. There was only 4 of us, 2 of my friends, a couple, that we said, there's only going to be just you guys. You want to do it? We'll do it. Because she was beginning her business, and so she's like, in fact, she had talked to a shaman in Bali, and he said, if you open a restaurant, if you have 2 people come in, you're not going to say, there's only 2 people, I can't, I'm closing the restaurant today. He said, build the energy. And so we decided we were going no matter what. Darn. And so we went there, and what I was noticing the first 2 days was this energy of everybody wanting to share. Now, there's a theme, quarterly theme is called sacred listening, so I am going to tie that in with this. And so we're there, and I'm noticing that everybody is wanting to share what they know with the other person. And it's really this big egoic game that's going on, and I'm part of this game. I'm noticing, like, when somebody is sharing, each person is looking for a space to interject, what they have to share, because after all, my comments are far more important than what anyone else has to hear. So I was noticing this, and it went on for about 2 days. I was noticing my frustration, and I'm like, fortunately, after being caught in the drama of it, I took a step back and I said, okay, what's going on here? And first of all, I had the recognition, you can come on in, it's okay. We won't all stare at you when you're coming in. We got one more person, we'll allow her to come in too. One more person right behind you there. So I'm noticing now the kind of the stress of just really getting caught in this game of wanting to interject, and really finding that so much that was being shared was just not interesting to me. And so this is going on, and then so after the 2 days, I kind of started looking within myself and say, okay, Brett, remember the world is a reflection of you, And that's always hard to look at, right? Because when somebody is just irritating you and just annoying the heck out of you, the last thing you want to do is saying, that's me, But the truth is, it was me. And I noticed that as I started becoming more aware of that, how they were a reflection of me, I was noticing how badly I like to get in there and speak, and how much I want to share. I have something to say. And maybe it's a lack of feeling, as a youngest child. I don't know. I don't want to make up too much stories. But, I feel like maybe when I was young, I wasn't really listened to because I was the youngest and really didn't have anything important to say. And in fact, I think my friend who hired me, I think she was number 10 out of 13. So she said she was pretty much completely ignored when she was young. And she was really just like feeling this need to educate us and enlighten us on all these stories. And I'm like, oh my God. And then my 2 friends are in on this whole game too, And I'm like, nobody is really listening at all. Nobody is listening at all. Because we're far too important, to not get our word out. And, and we've all had these experiences where you're not even listening to the other person because you're preparing what you want to say, right? And, I mean, actually, I go back from when I was in college back in '83, and I had my speech class. And the first day at speech class, all we had to do is just say our name. I remember I couldn't hear anybody else's name because I was so busy practicing my own name because I was terrified of saying anything. So, I ended up being up here speaking. I don't know how that happened. But in any case, I just noticed that there wasn't any listening really going on at all. People were just far more concerned about what they had to share and being heard. And it was true for every single person there. My one friend, Maurice, not as much as the rest of us, but still there was just, it was just pervading the air, everything we said and did. So I started being with this, I started sitting with this and looking at my part in it. And as I started to move it through, I noticed like anytime we have stress, there's resistance involved to life. Anytime we have stress, there's something we're resisting about our experience in life. And so it's important to recognize, like, okay, I've got stress. What am I fighting against? So I noticed, that I was fighting against this, and I began to trust and have faith to say, I know in my heart, God is always bringing me exactly what I need to help me to awaken to the truth of who I am. I know that's true. I practiced it enough. I'm sure many of you have as well. And so I started to say, I'm noticing my resistance, and it's okay, just accepting where my ego self was at, and then just saying, okay, God, just help me to embrace this, knowing that it's leading somewhere, and help me to get the most out of it. So I started moving it through, and I got to this point where I said, all right, I'm not going to fight any of this. As much as my buttons are getting pushed right now, I'm going to surrender into this. And I said, God, however many times that they need to speak out, I'm going to listen. And I'm not going to interject. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to listen. And it was really just very beautiful because, for one thing, you can't really learn something when you're talking. You learn something when you're listening, right? It's when you get the juice. But none of us were really in the space to do that at the time. But I'm starting to listen more and more and just kind of sinking into the silence and to the point where I just said, however long this takes, I'm willing to ride this out for whenever. If it takes a year, 20 years or whatever, I'm not going to fight this anymore. And then something beautiful began to happen where I stopped fighting it and I started, surrendering into it, where that's all God's asking, really, right? God is bringing us an experience to help us see there's something in it for us. And the more we're able to recognize that and not fight against it, then God's like, okay, game over, I don't need to give them this experience. Well, I wasn't done with this lesson. But what happened was probably about 4 or 5 days into it, my friend who had hired me came up to me and said, oh my God, Brett, I'm going to kill myself. I can't take these two people. They are sharing so many things that is completely uninteresting to me. And I'm like, oh my God, she's doing the exact same thing, And so, any case, but I was in a pretty good space at this point in time, and I just listened to her, and she said what she needed to say. And she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, here, I'm having the same experience, And I didn't even talk with her about it in the morning, in the moment, my judgments with her in that moment, because I didn't feel like it would serve really, and it didn't even really matter. It was my stuff, right? A lot of times we're like, I'm going to communicate this because this person is driving me nuts. But for me, I really like to say, what's my piece in there? And then if I want to have a conversation about it, I can have a conversation more from my heart than from my brain and my judgment. So I said to her, yes, I'm having the same experience, and I noticed that I was really fighting against it. I told her that. I noticed I was resisting, and I noticed that I just want to sink into this and allow God to bring me whatever God wants to bring me. And she heard my words. And she was able to embrace those in that moment. And not to say that we either one of us had it good. We were all, I'm sure she probably had the same judgment with me as well. We were all judging each other. Nobody was listening to each other. But she was so annoyed. We were going to these different temples, which were absolutely gorgeous, going back to 800 AD, and just really such intricate architecture and everything. The whole experience is a trip of a lifetime for sure. But we're going to these temples, and Lance and Maurice were having a fair amount of talking going on and not recognizing that we're walking in this sacred place, you know. And Patricia was very, very annoyed with that. And so she started saying something, and you could hear the judgment in her voice. She's like, okay, now's the time really where we want to be, you know, quiet, and we're in the sacred place, you know. So I heard her saying that a few times throughout the day, and it really, I could feel kind of, you know, like basically without saying the same words, please shut up, you know. And so we were meditating a couple, 2-3 times a day. We got back to the resort that we were staying at. We went to the meditation room. We started to share, and I couldn't think of how to clear the air to meditate other than just being completely honest. And I just said, can we just let go of everything that's been going on, you know? And I used the words because nothing else would come through. I said, you know, it felt like a little bit of forced silence, which it did feel that to me. And I wasn't even saying that to try to be judgmental. I was just really being honest, and I wanted to offer, can we clear this energy out? And so we had, I think people had the ears to hear that, and we began to kind of clear the energy and go a little deeper. And so it was just this whole journey of really just being present with not being able to sit and really listen and hold this space for other people to share. I don't know why it is. I think there's a lot of reasons. You know, people haven't been heard their whole life. Maybe people don't feel worthy. Maybe people, you know, like me, maybe you're the youngest child or whatever, and we feel like this need to be heard. It's okay. There's really not a problem with it, but it's not exactly a way of living with joy, right, or peace. Because as long as you have that there, you know. So the whole thing of letting go of our need to fix or change others, I think we do that a lot of times. I feel like I do it a lot of times. I'll speak for myself, is because I'm trying to prove myself in some way. I've been very insecure most of my life, quite frankly, and I'm really fortunate and blessed to be up here speaking, and I speak regularly because I need it. And I remember Human Awareness Institute, I did some workshops with them, and they used to say, you know, life is like riding a roller coaster. You know, there's one way you ride the roller coaster and you're like, woohoo, yeah, this is awesome, you know, but you're still scared, you know, it's still scary, but it's fun. And the other way is like, oh my God, I can't get on that thing, and there's anxiety in that. So I do my best to ride the roller coaster knowing that there's fear there, but it still is taking me somewhere, and it's fun and exciting. And that's true for me with this right here. And so my practice has been to be up here expressing myself, and of course there's you know, I've got the whole thing in the background. Boy, I hope people like me, and I want people to say, that was so good, Brett, you know, all these kinds of things. We all hook into these kinds of things, right? We identify that that's the truth of who we are. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to say, just let the gig be up. Just let the game be over. You know, just recognize that we're all falsely identifying with who we are at some level. And how we can do that and know that's true is because we say all these things. You've heard me say the thing about self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is so important. And I'll tell you why, is because when you start asking the question, who am I? Then basically Spirit will respond in kind to you to help you understand who you are. And so in doing that, you start noticing the thoughts and the phrases, I am frustrated, I am angry, I am disappointed, because we are identifying with the mind. Please hear that. We're identifying with what the mind is saying, that that's the truth of who you are. It's not. The mind is not on your side. There's a purpose for the mind, but it isn't to be the master and you the slave. And that's what happens. We're so identified with all the thoughts and feelings. Feelings are of the mind too, just to be clear. Because if you have a thought that says, oh, that guy's a complete idiot, and you believe that's true, then you have a feeling that comes right behind it, right? And so the thoughts and the feelings that you're having when you're saying I, can you recognize that that is not you? Or begin to become aware of how you're falsely identifying. And it's the same thing with the body. And when you say, I am cold, I am hungry, no. Are you your body? When your body dies, do you die? You know, and of course it might be a belief, but I can tell you this, you can move beyond that belief and you can confirm it for yourself before you pass by letting go of the belief and the idea that you are the body. Because I can tell you, I've had a couple experiences where I was just so clear I was not my body and my mind, and I stepped into this place beyond them. And it confirmed it for me that I am not that, and nor are you. So it's important that we keep, watching what our mind has to say about these things. So, letting go of our need to fix or change others, one of the beautiful things about that is because the more you just allow people to be the way they are, it gives you permission to be the way you are. Right? When you have compassion for others, then you begin to have more and more compassion for yourself. I was raised up with a very, my mom was raised up by a very judgmental mom, and my mom was very judgmental, and I carried her voice for many, many years. And I'm fortunate to say, before my mom's passing, long before her passing, actually a couple of years ago, that we worked through things, and it's like, I didn't carry her voice any longer, and she really let go of so much. But we do carry those voices around, right? Where we're being judgmental, we're not being forgiving and compassionate. Forgiveness and compassion are your pathways back home to who you are. I had a dear friend of mine that his girlfriend had passed, and she had moved out to Montana. He didn't move with her. He had all sorts of regrets about that. And really, he just needed to talk with me after one of our services in Ann Arbor. And I was sitting with him, and he was being very vulnerable, and he was just crying, and feeling the sadness and disappointment of how he missed this opportunity to be with the person that he loved, and now she had passed. And so he really had just such strong regret about that. And I was saying to him, I said, hey, look, you have to let that go. You have to let that go, because if you're carrying guilt around, that's only getting in the way of your connection with her now, or anyone's connection. If you're carrying guilt or shame around, it blocks you from experiencing just love and peace and joy with your friends, your family, or in God. It's the greatest thing we can do is just forgive ourselves, knowing that we were just where we're at the time, and it's okay, and to have compassion for your humanness. And he said, I can't do that. I can't do that until I die, and I see her and tell her how much I love her and that I'm sorry. And so I'm saying, I'm pulling out like all the tools out. I'm like, well, do you think God loves you right now, And he hesitated, and he said, yes. I said, well, then why can't you give yourself the same courtesy? What is it that's holding you to the fire on this whole thing, He couldn't let it go. And I found myself, and he said also, he said, and I'm really angry at Spirit because I felt like they gave me bad guidance. I went to a counselor, and they said, you got to let Tammy go and this and that. And he was so angry by his spiritual guidance. And to be honest with you, I was really annoyed with that. I was really annoyed because I'm like, God is so good. God treats me so well. I trust my guides. I trust the Spirit leading me and coaching me. And I found myself being really annoyed. And I'm like, feeling like I can't help him. He doesn't want to forgive himself. He doesn't want to have compassion for himself. What else is there to do? So meanwhile, I'm judging him, right, for not having compassion and forgiveness. And I'm like, oh, man, I hate how this game plays sometimes, But that's how it plays, right? I said last week I was speaking at Interfaith in Ann Arbor, and I don't remember I think it was something about loving people where they are. And I was saying, my wife goes to a Christian non-denominational church, and occasionally I'll attend with her. And they do a very nice job. They have some very good speakers in there. But one of the things they'll say sometimes is about well, it's like in unity, a lot of times in unity, we talk about, that we're beautiful, we're perfect the way we are, there's a certain amount of acceptance, and that we're significant in some way. Their approach is you're broken, and they approach it from that aspect. And I said that at Interfaith, and I saw people going, yeah, but you know what? Honestly, when I go there, I feel this beautiful humility. And that's their approach. We've judged it. I've judged it. I'll say that. I've judged it because it's like, no, you're not broken, but it's okay. That's where they're at. This is what they're experiencing. And the minister that has come out of there, where they used to not accept gays and certainly not transgenders, and there was different things they weren't accepting. The minister that was there, he left because of that. He's like, I can't do that anymore. That's not true for me. Because he's given his life over to Jesus. And I see Jesus is a pretty good one to give your life over to. And Jesus is saying, okay, you want to give your life over to me? Then we're going to knock these things out of the way that are blocking you from being who you are. We have to let people follow the path that feels right for them. The truth is, and A Course in Miracles said this, we don't have all the tools to judge other people of what's right and what's wrong. Until we awaken to who we are, we step beyond the body and mind, we're limited in our capacity, and we can never really see what the truth is. We can't see it because we are so trapped in our beliefs and our opinions. We were having a conversation at Interfaith the other night about, who's really making choices. And I was noticing how many opinions there were around that. Like some people would say, we don't make any choices. Other people would say, I'm not, that's a whole other topic, so I'm not going to get into, my thoughts around that. But I just noticed all these opinions, and I'm like, we have to let go of all of our self-righteousness, all of our opinions. And that's one of the ways that we can accept and love people where they are, and that we don't have this need to fix or change them. But I'm telling you, from my perspective, the more we can just allow people to be where they are and not try to change them, the more we can accept ourselves and not try to change ourselves. Because I got to tell you, I've been incredibly, incredibly judgmental almost all my life. And for those of you who follow numerology, my number's 24/6. It's vision and acceptance. So there's, vision and acceptance are the good sides. There's always a shadow side behind that, right? The shadow side of acceptance is you're judging everybody, including yourself, But I'm really so happy about that because it has honestly offered me so much compassion for myself and others. I really am just feeling so grateful. Like, I not to talk politics. I'm not saying one way or another on politics, okay? But I do know that Trump has been judged a lot. And I heard one of the people that was talking the other day, and he said, I can't say what's really on my mind at Interfaith because I feel like I'm going to be judged. I said, what did you want to say? He says, I wish Trump was dead. I go, oh, okay, And I'm like, I said, okay, that's where you're at, And I said, you probably wouldn't be alone in that thought, But I also said that I've noticed for myself that everything is a reflection of us. And if I'm judging somebody or wishing ill of somebody else, I'm only wishing ill of myself in some ways. So, it's just something for us to reflect on. If we're really going to let go of our need to fix and change others, we also need to let go of that need to fix and change ourselves. Because who are you trying to fix? Who are you trying to fix? You're trying to fix the part of you that the Christians would say, if more fundamental, would say is the broken part of you. The broken part of you. But the truth is, there's nothing broken. And I'm not, how do I say this? There's nothing broken except for the idea of who you believe yourself to be. Can you hear that? It's the only thing broken is the self-image that you've come up with to collect all these thoughts and ideas to say, I am this person, and this person is angry, this person is frustrated, this person is sad, whatever this person is. But it's a bunch of thoughts and ideas that this is who you believe yourself to be. What if you transcended the body and the mind, that there's something deeper as to who you are that is perfect exactly the way it is? Because I can tell you, when I'm rooted in my pure beingness, I don't need anyone or anything to be any different than what it is. And that's where peace is. So if you're trying to fix someone else or something, you're seeing them in the limitedness of who they are, and you're also doing the same thing for yourself. I think that's everything I want to share. I'm just checking in. Thank you. I really appreciate always coming here, and I think I want to leave you with this. Be compassionate with yourself. Look, we're all doing the best we can. I'm not just saying that as a cliche. We're literally all doing the best we can. Everyone in this world, the one thing we all have in common is we want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. I don't care what party they are. I don't care what country they're from. I don't care, their ethnicity or whatever. Everyone wants to be happy. And everyone, believe it or not, everyone is doing what they think they need to do to be that. And sometimes it shows up as greed or control or power. But they're still searching for those things. They're still trying to get that because they think that's the way to happiness. So the more you just give this whole thing over to God and say, I don't know what I'm doing, because our personal self doesn't know what it's doing, but our true self does. And so the more you just give this over to God and say, I don't know where this is going, but I'm going to be compassionate with myself and others, just knowing and understanding everything is the way it needs to be, and it's unfolding absolutely as perfect as it needs to be. I'm going to leave it there.
Hey, it's Reverend Mike here. I just wanted to stop for a moment before you get on with your day, and thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It means the world to us, and I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that we can do to make your experience even better, please do not hesitate to reach out by going to our website. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity for us to get together and sit down so I could get to know you a little bit better and answer any questions that you have. I can either do that by either getting together in person, have a cup of coffee, or we can meet online via Zoom. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at michael@courage2thrive.com. And lastly, if you find these messages are helping you, we would be tremendously grateful if you'd consider donating to the center. The best and the easiest way to do that is simple. Just go to our website. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're doing well. God bless, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.